In the previous lesson, we learned about loops, and if you've done your homework, you'll definitely enjoy what I'm going to teach you today. So today you're going to learn about functions. What are functions and what's their purpose in Python? Now, simply put, functions can drastically impact the way we write Python code. And why do I say that? Well, it's because functions allow us to shorten the number of lines of code we write. They help us prevent having to repeat ourselves by writing the same code. Therefore, they allow us to save code space as well as time. So functions actually make our lives better. They are simple groups of statements that perform a given task. And I'll get to examples in a moment. Now, in Python, we have built-in functions and functions we make ourselves, or we create, or we define ourselves. So the built-in functions are those like the print function. Let me open up a Python interpreter shell here. So Python. So we have the print function, which actually prints to the screen whatever you pass it as a parameter. So for example, let's say print I am learning ethical hacking with Python. And if we execute this one, it's going to output I am learning ethical hacking with Python. We also have the open function that allows us to manipulate files in Python. And as we could have an example of that as file equals open, let's say pentest report.txt. Okay, and in this case, whatever is in the pentest report.txt file in the current directory is going to be instantiated into the variable file, and we can use it for whatever reason in our code. But in this case, since there is no pentest report.txt file in the current directory, we get an error of file not found error. Alright, so other examples would be the str for string. This is also a built-in function. We have the int. We also have the eval, the sum, I believe the exec, but I'm not really sure, and so on. I've given you a link below for the official documentation where you can check more of these built-in functions. So I said that in Python we have built-in functions and functions we define ourselves. Now, how do we define a function? That's actually pretty simple. To define a function, okay, let's move to the Visual Studio Code here. So to define a function, we use the word def followed by the name we want to give our function, and then followed by parentheses. Optionally, we can give our function parameters by specifying them between these parentheses. So let's go through a quick example. Let's actually write a function that executes system info in a Windows environment and saves the output to file. So let me actually reconsider this and go back to the Python interpreter shell. So I'm actually going to open up another command prompt, and I'm going to, so if we execute system.info, it's going to display the information of the system. It's going to display a lot of information in this case. Okay, so as I said, we want to write a function that executes system info in Windows and save the output to file. In this case, we can also define our function in the interpreter shell. We can say def followed by the name of the function, sys.info followed by parentheses and colon. And then we hit enter and we move to another line, and we have to tab for spaces, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll just say return os.system info. So this is what we want to execute in the command prompt into the file sysinfo.txt. Okay, and then we hit enter. Now, let me tell you that we can see here that we have the OS module that's being called. So if we want to run sysinfo, we need to import first the os.sys, the OS module. So we import OS, and if we call the sys.info, we're actually going to execute this statement. Now notice that we've used the word return, which after completing whatever statement we ask it, in this case os.system systeminfo into systeminfo.txt, after completing that statement, this will allow or will enable exiting from the function and going back to whatever location it was called from in memory. However, you don't necessarily need to know this. Just know that using the return in functions is a good practice. So now that we have our function defined, let's run it. So as I said, we'll simply say sys.info and hit enter, and the function will run, and it will create a sysinfo file in the current folder, and this file will have the output of the systeminfo command. And we can check the folder, so it's C users, it's in this folder C users Christie, and we can see here that it executed correctly, it finished correctly. So if we open up a command prompt and do type sysinfo.txt to actually read that file, we can see that that file exists and it was created and our function actually completed correctly. So as you can see, functions make our lives better. Instead of having to write the systeminfo command and then copying its output into a new file, you can simply call the function as I showed you, and it'll do that automatically. And this is just the most basic use of a function. You can stack together many more statements or instructions inside a function that will ultimately simplify your work tremendously. And you can call a function as many times as you want, once you have it defined, of course. Now let's do another function, this time with parameters. Let's say that we want to add two numbers and then raise their sum to the power of 2. So we'll then have three numbers as parameters. So we'll simply say def simple calc, because we actually like simple stuff, ABC, which are our three parameters, and then we'll simply say return a plus b to the power of c. So as I might have mentioned earlier, double asterisk stands for raising something to the power. And as you know, okay, so let's just hit enter to actually have the function defined, and we'll call the function by its name, simple calc, and say 9, let's say 5, 1. And this function should add 9 plus 5 to the power of 1. So 9 plus 5 equals 14 to the power of 1 equals 14. So let's see if our math is correct here. Okay, that's right. Let's do another one. Simple calc 3, 4, 2. We're doing simple stuff again. So 3 plus 4 equals 7. 7 to the power of 2 equals 49. Alright, and we are correct. Okay, so these are functions in a nutshell. Again, they make our lives better by simplifying our work and shortening the number of lines of code we need to write. As always, please make sure to check the mandatory readings accompanying this video for more in-depth insights on functions. I don't think I have to say that studying the reading materials is very crucial to successfully completing this course. That being said, I will see you in the next lesson.